Good evening, I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. In today's episode, if you thought we reported a high number of cases yesterday, wait till you see the figures from today. Like yesterday, a large percentage of cases are from the immigration detention centres involving undocumented migrants. After 3 weeks of double-digit daily increases of cases, Malaysia has reported another triple-digit increase in new COVID-19 cases for the second consecutive day, with 187 new cases. However, only 4 cases involved Malaysians being infected in the country. A large portion, or 173 cases to be exact, involved foreigners, and the remaining 10 were imported.
155 kes telah dikesan di depo tahanan imigresen Bukit Jalil dan 13 kes daripada kluster pengawal keselamatan ceras. Kes penularan tempatan di kalangan warga negara Malaysia adalah 4 kes sahaja.
No new deaths were reported for the third consecutive day. This means the death toll remains at 115. Meanwhile, 62 patients recovered and were discharged today, bringing the total number of recoveries to 6,041.
Saya sekali lagi ingin ucapkan selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri dan kalau boleh rakyat Malaysia patuh kepada SOP Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia untuk meraihkan Hari Raya, dan apa yang penting ialah kita kena jaga kita kena jaga keluarga kita dan kita kena jaga masyarakat kita. InsyaAllah dengan cara begitu kita dapat memutuskan rantaian jangkitan COVID-19 di negara kita. InsyaAllah. Sekian, terima kasih.
Our Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has a message for government critics. Be thankful to Putrajaya. Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob was left puzzled by the response of government critics who have questioned state action against undocumented migrants in the country. During the daily press conference today, Ismail was asked to respond to certain quarters, claiming that government action taken against undocumented migrants can be seen as discrimination.
Saya pun tak fahamlah golongan yang saya rasa tak faham tentang undang-undang parti. Mereka perlu sedar bahawa parti adalah mereka yang memasuki negara secara haram. Saya tidak tahu di mana-mana negara pun dalam dunia ini yang membenarkan mereka yang masuk ke negara secara haram tanpa dokumen sah boleh bebas bergerak dan sebagainya. Tidak ada. Mereka yang masuk ke negara secara haram adalah salah dari segi undang-undang negara dan boleh ditangkap. Itu jelas di dalam undang-undang kita.
Ismail's comments came after the country reported 172 new COVID-19 cases, with most involving undocumented migrants detained at immigration depots in Bukit Jalil, Semenyih and Sepang. He said the government will now focus on deporting all undocumented migrants at immigration detention centres nationwide who have tested negative for COVID-19.
Kajian menjaga kepentingan majoriti penduduk kita. Majoriti yang patuh, yang pihak PDRM menganggarkan lebih daripada 95% ni patuh. Kita menjaga kepentingan majoriti rakyat yang patuh ini. Tetapi hanya kerana parti yang masuk secara haram ke negara kita atas alasan kerana kebebasan, human right dan sebagainya, kita nak biarkan bebas, akhirnya yang terjejas adalah majoriti rakyat kita. Kita tidak akan benarkan. Walau apapun alasan yang diberikan oleh kumpulan yang menentang tindakan kajian ini, kajian tidak akan tunduk pada mereka.
Meanwhile, Ismail said Malaysia will treat migrants who have tested positive for COVID-19 and is boosting hospital capacity for them as a preparation to deal with any spike of cases. He said they are now being treated at the Malaysia Agro Exposition Park, Serdang, which was previously converted into a temporary hospital. However, he said MIAPS can only hold 600 patients and there are already 230 infected migrants housed there. Driving under the influence is something no one should do, but when you're irresponsible enough to actually do it, bad things can happen, like this next case. A white Toyota CHR driven by a 42-year-old man who was believed to have consumed alcohol drove against traffic before colliding into a vehicle, killing 41-year-old Herman Kamarudin at about 9:20 p.m. on Monday along Jalan Pintasan, Kuantan. According to Bernama Pahang Traffic Investigations and Enforcement Department Chief Kamarul Zaman Juso, said the victim in a Toyota Yaris was confirmed dead at the scene due to serious head and chest injuries. Kamarul Zaman said the victim was believed to be travelling from his home in Sungai Isap Perdana to Gebeng to begin his night shift when his vehicle was hit by a car which was going against traffic. Kamarul Zaman said the Toyota CHR was driven by a fish wholesaler who was believed to have been drinking at his friend's house in Semambu before the incident. The driver, who went against traffic, suffered slight injuries and was taken to Hospital Tunku Ampuan Afzan for a checkup before being remanded today to assist in investigations under Section 441B of the Road Transport Act. The victim's body was also sent to Hospital Tunku Ampuan Afzan for COVID-19 screening and a post-mortem. There's a by-election coming, and UMNO veterans have some advice for Harapan, which may end up saving taxpayer ringgit. As the Chini State seat by-election looms following the death of incumbent Abu Bakar Harun, UMNO veterans have a suggestion for Pakatan Harapan. The UMNO Veterans Club Secretary General Mustafa Yaakob said in a statement that Harapan should give Muafakat Nasional a walkover as to avoid a costly polls during the COVID-19 pandemic. Citing how PH candidate Muhammad Razali Ithnain lost his deposit in the 14th general election when contesting the seat, Mustafa said it is impossible for Harapan or PKR to challenge the coalition of UMNO and PAS. Chini is one of the 4 state constituencies under the Pekan Parliamentary Constituency, which has been held by former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak since 1986. As of 20th March, PKR Secretary General Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said that the party was still conducting studies on the by-election and have not come to a decision yet. Mustafa said that such a move will also save costs for the Election Commission, which has already announced the 20th of June as nomination day and the 4th of July as the polling day. Before this, vehicles were limited to just 4 occupants, but starting tomorrow, the government will allow more people to travel in a single vehicle, as long as the vehicle can safely seat them all. The government has agreed to relax the 4 people per vehicle limit effective tomorrow, Defence Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced today.
Pindahan tersebut antara lain adalah berkaitan dengan kapasiti penumpang bagi kenderaan persendirian. Bagi kenderaan persendirian, pemandu boleh membawa penumpang mengikut kapasiti kenderaan masing-masing yang dikawal selia di bawah Akta Pengangkutan Jalan 1987 iaitu Akta 333.
This means if you own an MPV, 7 people can be in the same vehicle.
Jika kapasitinya 4 penumpang, maka pemandu campur dengan 3 penumpang lah. 4 satu kereta, pemandu dengan 3 yang lain. Ini kereta biasa. Tetapi untuk kenderaan seperti MPV, MPV dia boleh 1 plus campur dengan 6. Depan 2, 3. Jadi boleh sehingga maksimum 7 orang.
This came after the government gazetted a new set of rules under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases, Measures Within the Infected Local Areas Regulation 2020, which will take effect tomorrow. However, Ismail said other conditions would be applicable, such as the driver and passengers being from the same family and living in the same house. Coming up next, WHO has stopped using hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID-19 patients. Hydroxychloroquine. Even US President Donald Trump used it, but the WHO has suspended it over safety concerns. The World Health Organization has suspended testing for the malaria drug hydroxychloroquine in COVID-19 patients due to safety concerns, according to WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom.
The executive group has implemented a temporary pause of the hydroxychloroquine arm within the Solidarity trial, while the safety data is reviewed by the Data Safety Monitoring Board. The other arms of the trial are continuing. This concern relates to the use of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine in COVID-19.
Hydroxychloroquine has been touted by US President Donald Trump and others as a possible treatment for the disease caused by the novel coronavirus. The US President said that he was taking the drug to help prevent infection.
Hydroxychloroquine is used by thousands and thousands of frontline workers so that hopefully they don't catch this horrible disease or whatever you want to call it. It is a terrible virus. It's a terrible thing. And a lot of people are taking it. A lot of doctors are taking it. A lot of people swear by it. it's gotten a bad reputation only because I'm promoting it, so I'm obviously a very bad promoter. If anybody else were promoting it, they'd say this is the greatest thing ever.
In an online briefing this week, Tedros said the other arms of the trial, a major international initiative to hold clinical tests of potential treatments for the virus, were continuing. The WHO has previously recommended against using hydroxychloroquine to treat or prevent coronavirus infections, except as part of a clinical trial. Dr. Mike Ryan, head of the WHO Emergencies Programme, said the decision to suspend trials of hydroxychloroquine had been taken out of an abundance of caution. Protests have returned to the streets of Hong Kong, but leader Carrie Lam has called for calm. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said on Tuesday that Beijing's proposed national security laws would not trample the city's rights and freedoms and called on its citizens to wait and see the details of the legislation. Lam told a weekly news conference that there is no need for the people of Hong Kong to worry, but she did not explain how the freedoms that Hong Kong enjoys will be upheld. She added that the best thing is to see the legislation and understand why at this point in time Hong Kong needs this piece of legislation. Beijing unveiled plans last week for national security legislation for Hong Kong that aims to tackle secession, subversion and terrorist activities. It could see Chinese intelligence agencies set up bases in the city. Thousands poured onto the streets of Hong Kong on Sunday in a mass protest against the planned new security laws. Police fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd and arrested almost 200 people. It was the first major protest since pro-democracy demonstrators rocked Hong Kong last year over an unsuccessful plan to introduce an extradition law with China. The unrest plunged the former British colony into its worst crisis since its return to Chinese rule in 1997. More protests expected in Hong Kong on Wednesday. The commander of China's military Hong Kong garrison said in a rare interview that the garrison firmly supported the Chinese parliament's new Hong Kong security legislation. Chen Dao-xiang told Chinese state television that the garrison had the determination and ability to safeguard China's national sovereignty and the long-term prosperity and security of the city. China's military had remained in barracks in Hong Kong throughout the past year, leaving police to confront pro-democracy activists. Beijing's security plans have sent jitters through the business and diplomatic communities and raised concern about the city's future as a global financial hub and whether it will continue to function as a vibrant interface between Communist China and the West. And here are more headlines from today. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.